I'm here at Manchester Theatres today with Millie Hikasa and Keir Ogilvy, who play the two central characters of Lettie and Boy in the National Theatre's tour of The Ocean at the End of the Lane. Now, it's written by Neil Gaiman, adapted for stage by Joel Horwood, and this production will be like nothing you have ever seen before. It is deservedly getting 5-star reviews wherever it goes. And after a brilliantly successful stint at the Lowry last Christmas, it is returning from the 4th of October. And I cannot, for one, cannot wait. It is coming back before it goes back to the West End. So thank you so much to Keir and Millie for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very flattering.
So this show, obviously, we've got so many themes and plot twists within the story, as you would expect from a Neil Gaiman story, that I think anybody who kind of watches it might describe it slightly differently to someone else, depending on the theme or the bit that they connect with.
I think there's something in that there's a little bit, I quite like the angle. You can take a lot of angles on this. As you said, like Neil Gaiman is such a brilliant writer that yeah, you can kind of come in and it is funny that you said that because you're the first person to sort of like reflect that back, but it is always something where I go like, people come in and they do talk about like different points that we're touching to them. I quite like the angle that there's a sort of like magical realism element to it potentially, where like we're coming in and we're going like, it's a memory play. And so how much of this can we trust? Like how much of this boy's memory is real and how much of it is him trying to process like a really intense period of his life as a child does.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of starts to bring us into a little bit about the type of characters you're playing, because as you've said, they do go on this journey, and we see obviously your character Keir, the boy, at different stages of his life. So could you maybe both just give us a little bit more about the journey that they both go on? Because Lettie's got some kind of secret stuff going on there as well.
A little bit. You go first.
I'll go first. I so just in terms of like who the character is.
Yes.
So the boy is based on Neil Gaiman loosely as a child. Now we got to meet Neil Gaiman very briefly. Very lovely man. I said thank you. Thanks very much for writing this. For giving me a job. It's very kind of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. And he said, I said, oh, is it quite jarring, like seeing this play because like it's based on you and it's kind of like your childhood? And he said that it's gone through so much that he doesn't feel that he's reliving any trauma anymore, which is very good. But I think there is something where like this boy is a sort of like outcast. He doesn't fit in. He doesn't have a lot of friends. He's supremely anxious and hypervigilant. And through the story, it's about sort of learning to trust and learning to sort of like lean into friendship. And like that is his sort of, that's his like journey through it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. For Lettie, I think she's actually a lot more similar to the boy than necessarily she shows. Like she shows that she's a super magical, super outgoing, like pretty superpower-esque human or little girl, or not so little girl, however you want to put it. But she is lonely. She doesn't have any friends either. And I think that's what's so special about their friendship, is that their journey together is about them trusting each other. And it's about finding, it's growing up and finding who they are together. And I think that's what makes it so special, because it doesn't feel like it's just Lettie's journey. It feels like it's both of us together.
Sure. Yeah.
And she's pretty, she's cool, but she's also super vulnerable. And I think that's that's what I love playing with the two.
Yes.
Because on the internet, she's super like, let me fight this, let me do this. she's not quite. She's a kid learning to grow up, and I think that's what both of them are.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think
there's something as well. No, go.
No, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say that there's something really nice in like the way that when they're imperfect together, they get closer.
Mhm.
Like there is a really beautiful sort of. It's not that they get that their journey is them linearly becoming better. It's them like really messing things up with each other, but like just coming back together and like the bond getting stronger for that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It really does. And I think these kind of juxtapositions kind of are all throughout. Like you've got this play that is almost, as you've mentioned, set with this fantasy and this magic and supernatural element, but the performances are so real that what you're asking of the audience is quite a big thing, in the sense that we're supposed to believe in all of these like big ideas. But we do. You completely achieve that, and we all just sit there like, is it kind of difficult to know that you've got to get all these adults and children and all these different people believing in the unbelievable?
Well, thank you, firstly. So we shouldn't brush past that. That's a very lovely compliment.
Yeah, it is. I think there is an essence of like, yes, it is. There's so many elements to this play that you're like, oh, are we going to get them on side? And but actually, as much as us as the actors feel that that is the case, I think the story itself and what happens on stage immediately draws people in. And you, as long as you sort of like sit back and just let it happen to you, you're like, it's immediately believable.
Yes.
I think that's like, and with any good writing, so Neil and Joel, you just feel sucked in, and because also the characters are so real, like you say, everyone, anyone that I've spoken to, like friends, family, other people that have seen it, have found parts of every one of the characters that they relate to, which is why it feels so real to people.
Yeah, and I think like that is a good point as well, because it's like, you know, there are challenging parts in the piece, but it is so well put together that you're almost just like, you can just relax in it. I say, obviously it's quite hard work, but there is there's something in that it's not even like, there is a challenge to it, but it's also just like such a beautiful, fun opportunity as a sort of actor, because you get to play, like even at the start when we go into that Hempstocks. We first meet the Hempstocks and we see this sort of like magic, and it's quite fantastical. We get this beautiful transition where these ensemble come in and do the sort of like gorgeous movement work that they do, and then we're right into like a really normal discussion at a pond between two kids. So you get immediately, like as an actor, you get to do both, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and there's so much, like you say, there's so much to it. I'm remembering more and more as we're talking, and even the production value, like you've got, I mean, there's so much. You've got psychological illusion, magic, sleight of hand, like the way it plays with your instinctual fears. And what is it like working with this creative team? I mean, it just must be like, wow.
Oh yeah, it was so. Oh, I keep leaving this table. They are a phenomenal bunch of people, and I feel so lucky. I think all of us feel super lucky to have worked with them. I think I've never worked with puppets. I've never really worked with magic. And when I read the play for the first time, I was like, I didn't see it either times in the Northman or in town. So when I read it, I was like, I don't know how they did this. I don't know how this works. But their minds are so genius that they've just created this thing and put everything together. And I love doing it because it's just so much fun every night and also when people gasp or like little things like take people, you're like, this is why this is it.
Yeah, and I think it is such a, we've been doing this for a long time, and I think you can get forget the level of the creatives, like Stephen Hoggett doing the movement, like the Slick Fly Davis the set, Jarek Biscoff's soundtrack. It is unbelievable, and it is at every point you're like, this is the best people in UK theatre, and it is
And Katie for directing.
And Katie for directing. It's like, but I know, yeah, I was going to come to say that. You're making it look like I was forgetting about Katie. I was going to come around as like, look, she's a brilliant director, and she's supremely skilled at the things that we think of as direction. But I think one, like the extra thing, is her ability to bring it together, that team.
Absolutely.
Which is, it's so natural to her that it's easy to sort of like forget. But
Yes.
Even the company, and the company that are together as well, the cast and the company is like the standard's incredible.
But that's when you all know that you are all at the top of your game and you're doing your jobs absolutely flawlessly, that you forget, wow, look at all of this that's gone into it. That shows, because that's how it should come across. So yeah, it shows that you're all the best of the best. And I think, you know, you're welcome. Honestly, I can't rave about this show enough. One of the big things, obviously, is the flea. Now, I don't want to give too much away for anyone who's not seen it yet, but you never know which bit's gonna lead. You don't know where his head's coming from, and in the audience, it's intimidating. What's it like working with it? Are you just like, oh, or are you kind of used to it now?
I don't know if I'll ever be used to it, like, because I think when I saw it for the first time in the rehearsal room, I didn't know really what to say, because it was this big thing taking up the whole corner of our rehearsal room. I was like, oh my goodness. We fought it for the first time. I won't say too much more. It's just, I think what's so special is that the actual puppet is incredible, but the mnemonics and our like puppetry directors, so Gareth and Finn, who did the choreography and the movement for it, and particularly our ensemble members, they bring it alive every night, and I think that's what makes it so epic. And it feels like it's real, like it doesn't feel like a puppet. And I think that's what every night I feel like, oh, it's happening again. I don't know if you feel.
Yeah, no, I had the most theatrical thought I think I may have ever had. It was maybe a couple of months in, because that bit that where Lettie is interacting with the flea is a point where I get to sort of like lie down for a second, which is quite nice. But I was watching it, and I thought, unironically, entirely earnestly, I was looking at the skill of the people moving the flea, and I thought, this is a pleasure. I actually thought that.
This is a pleasure.
This is a pleasure.
Yeah, it is. It's one of them things you have to see to believe. No matter how much we talk about it, someone is not going to get the giant of it until they see it. And there's so many moments like that. I mean, I don't want to give anything away, but like there's when you're submerged into the ocean and things like that. There's so much going on. Do you have any favorite kind of moments in the play?
That's my favorite moment, when we go to the ocean.
I think it's mine as well. Yeah, it was really scary at first, because like we have these.
No, we've got the production photos, so it's fine. They're out.
Oh yeah, of course.
Puppets.
Yeah.
That's true. Yes.
There's a production photo, so it's fine. There's like little puppets of us, and that's how we take ourselves into the ocean. And I've never used a rod puppet before, but I think that moment in particular, we just get to be kids, and we just get to have fun and like just play, and like two kids running around like anywhere. And I think that's what it feels like. It's like the inner child getting to play. And I think it's for them, especially for Lettie and the boys, the moment of peace. Like it's the eye of the hurricane, and like before everything else happens. And I think I just love it because it's so peaceful, and the music is beautiful, gorgeous, and I just feel at peace in that moment.
Yeah, I wish I had something to add. That's a very.
It is. There's so many beautiful moments, and I think that's what it is. It keeps the audience on their toes. The different reactions, like you said earlier. You know, sometimes you've got, and then you've got, oh, and then you've got like the music, and you're like, whoa! And there's just all these different reactions. I mean, obviously, I mean, I'm guessing you're kind of aware of the audience reactions to a point, but do you get feedback? Are you aware of kind of the impact? I'm still talking about it now from last year, like the impact that it has on people.
It feels odd to say yes. I think I think it's easy to forget, and there are times where it's like, it's easy to forget, like, until the end of the piece where we get the reaction at the end. Like sometimes it feels like maybe the audience are. What am I even saying? I'm running out of steam at this point. What am I saying? I'm saying that to an extent. Like obviously we don't get to talk to the audience as sort of like individuals. So you do like kind of get this outline of, they seem to be enjoying it, but then you do meet people and they sort of have a much more personal discussion. I hope that can be cut into a better answer.
I think you're just trying to be bashful, because I think it's one of them tricky questions, isn't it? Going, yeah, we know that everyone loves it. We absolutely don't.
Thank you.
Them, but
that's very kind.
They do. People do love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is hard. I think we're on 276 shows now into this run, and it is. We do forget like how much this story touches people and how universal of a story it is. So I think it's always special when people tell you how it's moved them and how much they've loved it, because I think we do forget, because partly because it's our job, so we do it every night. But I think that's one of my and it's one of the things that I always like, especially when we have school groups in. For some of them it's like their first experience of theatre, and I think whenever we have, not that just not that it's specific to the school kids, but because they're so young as well, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so special, because they probably have never seen anything like this before. I haven't, and if I was them watching a show like this for the first time, I'd want them to know. So I think that goes for everyone. I think it's anyone's first experience of anything like this.
You can get, like, sometimes when you get schools groups in, they can be a bit more vocal about it. Like I remember there was the schools the schools matinee in the Lowry, when there were some of the effects that like the kids just were like actually like open mouth screaming.
It was like a rock concert, and it was the most epic thing. And we still talk about it to this day, because it was. Yeah, it was so insane. Sweet.
That was such a good answer. That was so bad. So
like a rock concert. Kids from Salford tell you how it is. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think also that's another thing about the schools, though, that we've had a few rowdy schools across the country where I think it's the thing when you're growing up, you're like, oh, I don't really want to be here, I'm too cool for this. And you sort of hear it at the beginning of the show, and you're like, oh,
and then it turns out they're not too cool for it.
And they're not too cool for it, and they love it. And I think that's another special thing, is that you think that, oh gosh, people are not here for it. And then we just do something cool with a bit of magic or a puppet, and they're like on side.
And I think you've got it at the other end of the spectrum as well, because with adults, you've got that it's okay for me to actually still like imagine and be wrapped up in fantasy, and it's okay for me to be that person and to daydream and to do those things. So you get it at both ends, and this is why I say everyone connects with it in different ways. I'm probably going to have to let you go, because otherwise I am going to keep you talking all day about this show. But thank you so much to both of you. It comes back to the Lowry from the 4th of October. It's only a short run, so if you do not see another play this year, make sure it is this one. You will not be disappointed. Like I say, I'm still talking about it from last Christmas. So thank you both so much for your time, and we cannot wait for you to come back.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure.
A joy. Thank you.
All the best. Thanks.
Thanks.
Cheerio.
There's things what lurk out there